Welcome back to another pristine production here. I'm your host, mixing engineer Andrew Rayburn. And shout out to all the fans. Thank you all, and also subscribers. Keep it going. Help me hit that 1K mark. You can check out my videos on mixing in Studio One 4.6, which is currently at 3K views. And also, you can check out my mixing course on CourseCraft, where you can learn to mix dancehall music. You can learn to mix pro Afrobeat in the box and reggae. It's only $30. I guarantee you, you're going to get the free stems included, so you can practice along and learn entirely how to mix like the pros right out of the box. No analog equipment needed except for your recording interface. And also, feel free to check out my website, Want Me to Mix for you. Check out my scores I have on YouTube. Big up all the fans. And today I have a very special treat for all you guys. We're going to begin our official Studio One 4 Masterclass, a 3-part session here. 1-day course. And it's completely free. And this is for the fans. This is for all you Studio One users out there, my fellow brothers and sisters in it. And this is a 3-part series. This is part 1. We're going to talk about the interface and setup you can get, so you can get very fast in mixing professional music. And you can also follow my course after you've taken this course here. So I guarantee that 1 day is all you need, and you can get this thing rolling. So let's jump right into it. So I'm using Studio One 4.6.1, and this is generally what you look at here. Don't be intimidated by Studio One. Here on the top of the screen here, we have the file which we can do new song, a new project. We have view, which you can go in songs and projects as well, plugin manager. We're going to get into all of that. We have our Studio One activation installation. We have our SoundCloud client, which you can log in. And when you open Studio One, this is the first thing you see on the interface. You can create a new song. If I click on this, we're going to create a new song. If I click on create a new project, this is going to be on the mastering suite, where we master different songs, or like an album ready for that finished distribution. And we go on open existing documents here. This is gonna let you open a project. As you can see, I have a number of projects here that I already did in Studio One, but this is where you go when you want to open projects. Studio One's going to take you to a window where you can select the project, or you can go here by date, of course. Let's say I wanted to find exactly where this particular project from Lady Ice is. I can right click on it, and I can go show in Explorer. And I click on that, and Studio One is going to tell me exactly where that project file is. So that's a very handy tool there. And this is the essential, guys. I guarantee you, after all that I teach you today, you won't need to learn nothing else. You can, of course, you can go on YouTube and find out some more advanced stuff, but this is the essential, guys, to get you there. You can make professional mix, automation, all that stuff I'm going to talk about, all the tools, all the routing, all the export, all that stuff I'm going to touch. And so that is the first thing you look at when you see the interface of Studio One. And also we're going to talk about setting up your audio interface as well. This is the recent files tab here, which you can see all the stuff that I previously worked on. It gives you the date as well. If I go on songs here, it's going to bring up a list as well. I was giving a little bit of time here. There you have it here. Here's the songs. I have all the songs that I created here. And projects is going to tell me all the mastering projects I did. For example, I did one for a soca artist here, Bastic Master, and also an ABC project. So it keeps a record of all the projects I've mastered, not mixed, mastered. You know, have a set of tracks ready for distribution here. Here we have the artist profile here as well, which I can click on this, and I can select a picture, and that's going to imprint on the MP3 itself. We have the genre, and also we have the SoundCloud for all you SoundCloud users. And if you have the newsfeed, demos, tutorials, which you can look up online, you can check for updates down here. You can check out the Twitter, Instagram feed. All is right here. And now let's talk about. Of course, you have over here is start page. We have song, which is we're going into the create song, and project is basically the same thing. So when you open up the interface of Studio One, 4, or 5, you can create a new song like it says. It's going to go to a window. We're going to get to that. You can create a new project for mastering. Here you see a little CD icon here. Or you can open an existing track. I'm going to click on this. Let's just show you. I can go on Mr. Cat, and I can go on Mr. Cat's song, and it's going to load a song. Or I can go down here. I can go down to the list here, and it'll tell you how like this one, Gianna Brown. I recorded her about 4 weeks ago there on that list. So very straightforward and simple, guys. So let's talk about the setup here now. We can either click on Studio One up here, and we can go down to options here and bring up the options window, which will bring up the options for your setting up your audio. Or we can go down here to setup here. As you can see, I'm using Voice Meter to capture all this stuff here. So I'm using Voice Meter as my setup here. Here we have the configure audio device. You can see it's currently set to 44.1 kilohertz at 512 sample rate. And we have configure external devices. So if I go on configure audio device here it's already on the audio device tab, and we have audio device tab selected here. So I'm currently using a Voice Meter virtual here. Here's a drop down list here. I can use a FL Studio audio driver. I can use ASIO for all, or I can use the Hammer DSP, which is my original interface when I'm producing. Windows Audio and Voice Meter. So this brings up the list of your audio device, whether you're using UAD, Focusrite, all that stuff. You select that there, and if you hit on the control panel as well, it's going to bring up the actual settings. Here's the Voice Meter and that stuff, so you can tweak for that particular interface. Here it tells you the device block size, which takes care of the latency, the sample rate, and all that stuff. Release audio device and background, which stands for if you're gonna play something else with Studio One, and you open, let's say, a media player here, it's gonna mute the audio coming from Studio One, and it's gonna play that audio there. If we click on the processing here, this is your settings for when dropout protection here. You want to set this to minimum. I believe it's default. It's at minimum. So if the computer is losing a lot of power, a lot of CPU usage here, Studio One is going to wait until it reaches to the dropout minimum, where it's really pushing hard to try and preserve processing power here. And it's set to the block size 512. So if I wanted to change this setting here to a higher one, which will let your audio go smoother, but it might introduce a slight delay latency. For this one, it's worked pretty fine for me. You can change that in the control panel settings here. And processing precision, which lets you select whether you have quad core and that stuff. I'm running a 64-bit machine here, so I'm using the double, of course. And here it gives you information about monitoring latency and all that stuff. So that's the audio device setting here. So if you want to set up your Studio One, your interface with Studio One 4, you go on the drop down list. I'm going to show you how you get there again real quick. You can either click on configure audio device, or you can come here at Studio One. You can go down to options, and it brings up the same thing. You go on the audio device, you select the interface that you just bought, and you set that up, and you're good to go. Now that's the processing part here. So let's go down to the general tab here. Now the general tab talks about what Studio One's going to do when it starts. Obviously, if I want, I could open the last song when it starts. I can open a default song, and that I can set that. I can let it check for updates. If I go to appearance here, I can select the luminance of the interface. You can see it's already making the difference here, the entire interface. I can change the hue saturation here. I can make everything green and that stuff. I can adjust the contrast here right off the fly here. So it's pretty cool. for you guys who want to customize Studio One. Keyboard shortcuts. Here is a list of Studio One. Show remove parameters. You can enter a key. You can customize your own key. For example, the toggle read is J. I hit the letter J, it's going to toggle the read when I'm automating. Close tab. You can set a key for that and so on. And I'm going to get into key commands as well, guys, so you can move pretty fast. I click on network. It's going to allow remote control apps to discover this dial. Like if I want to use a iPad, which Studio One is capable of as well, you can use that to connect with your Studio One DAW here. I'm going to go on the locations tab here. No, I don't want to apply changes. This is where Studio One is going to store its general information here, the current folder. Every time you create a project, it's going to be under Document Studio One by default. So every time you want to go search for your songs, go on Document Studio One and go on Songs. Autosave. And this is how many minutes Studio One is going to automatically save your project. Currently set to 5 minutes. You can change that if you want. You can put like every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes, whatever. So when you're in the heat of things, building that rhythm, composing that project, and sometimes we forget to save. It happens sometimes with me, but Studio One does it automatically every 5 minutes here. So that's what the autosave feature is for. And also we have file types. These are the file types that Studio One is compatible with: MP3 and MP4, ACC, AIF, and those stuff. A sound set will be the location. Let's say you bought some Studio One libraries, the drum machines and that stuff. The sound library for it, this will be the location for it. So those of you having trouble with loading up some of your Studio One libraries that comes with it, you can check this option here. There it is. It says install to. Instrument library is the same thing, sound fonts and that stuff. Here we have the VST section here. This is where you install your third-party stuff. As you can see, I have a lot of VST folders here. You can go ahead and add that, and there's an option here at scan at startup. So you can, if you check this, Studio One's gonna check all these VST when it loads, every time you load it up, which can get a little annoying. So I would normally take that off. You do that in case you have an issue with, let's say one of the VST is having error. You might see it in Studio One sometimes. You can tick this to scan it at startup so it works again, or you can go reset blacklist. Automatically, Studio One is going to blacklist VST instruments that are not working or giving trouble starting up with Studio One for some apparent reason. You reset blacklist, it's going to remove that that deactivation process, and also rescans it and open it back up. Let's say one of my plugins, drum machines, was not loading when I started Studio One. It was loading before, but it's not loading now. Studio One's going to blacklist that VST. So even if it's working again, it's still going to be blacklisted. So you have to go and reset the blacklist to do that. And of course, you can add the folder which your VST is installed. So we touch on general location. We touch on audio setup here. Here we have external device here, which is where you set up your MIDI keyboard. So I would go to the edit here, and normally I would pick a new keyboard. I would you can name it if you want. I'm using the Axiom Pro 61. It automatically shows up in here when you install it. Well, no drivers needed for mine. And the filter here is what you're going to deactivate. Let's say if you don't want to use the controllers on the pitch and that stuff, you're going to tick these stuff. And then once you tick that, it's going to filter it out. If you want to use all of them, just leave them unticked. And you just want to set receive from. You don't really have to go to send to. And that's for if you have another MIDI device you'd like to connect. So you put the receive from, so you get the commands there. You can put the MIDI channels to all, and you should be fine. with setting up your MIDI controls. The advanced tab, I wouldn't recommend you guys to mess around with this. You can do some stuff like colorize tracks and automation, but generally I leave this stuff here alone. And so that's how we do the interface. So I'm going to go and create new song here. And this is what is going to come up. We have empty songs. We have based on interface. These are our presets here, templates, styles. This is what you're going to see the first time. I have my template here that I already made, but we're going to start off with what you might be seeing the first time you open Studio One here. Here, if we look, here's some familiar options as well. We have the sample rate where we can set. It's 41.1 kilohertz. The resolution is 24-bit. The time base is bars. The song length is going to be 5 minutes. We can also change that. The tempo of the song, we can change. The key, the time signature as well, we can change. The key signature. So all these little checklists are already coming here at your availability. Now, stretch audio files to song tempo means if I'm going to import some, let's say I'm importing a session or stems from another producer or artist for me to mix in Studio One. Let's say they export it from Pro Tools or FL. When I bring those files in Studio One with this thing checked here, and you can turn it on as well in the interface I'm going to show you shortly. Whatever BPM you set, Studio One is going to shift the timing and stretch that audio to go with the BPM and still retain the natural sound. So that's a very good thing here. When you're creating a new song, you want to go up here. You want to name it. We can say, I can call this master class. And I can choose where I want to. Remember, by default, Studio One goes to documents. There it is, Studio One and sound. But I'm going to take this one here. I'm going to save it in this other document here, in drum mastering here. I'm going to select the folder. There's a name. That's where it's going to be at. Remember, if you forget where you save this thing, you can go on the recent list that I showed you earlier, and you can right-click and show in Explorer. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm sorry, and click OK. And here we are. This is the screen you're going to see first. So I'm going to quickly save this here, masterclass. I'm going to go to the save as here. Now, you might say, okay, Ray, where do we go from here? What am I looking at here? So let's check it out. So, of course, you can see the file here, which we can start a new song, new project. Also over here, if we had more than one session load up, you can go on the list. Maybe I had another session here. It's going to come up. Right now, it's only one session here. Project is when you want to master songs. I'm going to get into that shortly. Start is going to take you back to the home screen, and you can switch back to the song screen. Isn't that cool? You can go right back to the start. I'm going to click on start, and there's the master class on the list for today, and go on a song. So let's go ahead. And so we have a file, we have edit here, we have song, we can export the mix down, and we can go on track, we can add audio track, MIDI track, and instrument tracks here. Event, audio, transport. We have options here. I was telling you earlier about if I click on option, here's the same settings is going to come up here. If I go on audio, there it is. Remember this setting I told you about, choosing your driver and that stuff. Now here's a cool thing. If I go on song, I can go down to a song setup, and I can pick the information like the sample rate, the 24-bit. If I click on meta information here, I can change the artwork as well. Right here, I can put in the songwriter, composer, the artist, and that will be embedded in the MP3 file. Here is the audio setup now. And this is where I've already selected Voicemeeter as my audio driver. So the inputs here, the M is for mono, and the left and right is for stereo. So I have the input here on 2. I can add more mono tracks if I wanted to, input. I can name that, or I can add stereo tracks. So it's very easy for you guys to configure your audio device here. Outputs as well is set to the main 1 and 2. I can't switch it right now because I'm using this as just the driver for recording the information here. on the screen capture. So let's take a look here at the scenery here. So down here you have your performance here. You have your information about your sample rate. Here is the bars here. Here is the player. I can go ahead and hit the space bar. It's going to play. I can also go on. Let me see if I can bring in a track here, so I can show you guys here. Let's see here. I'm gonna go to. Let's see whose song I can use here. I'm gonna bring in Lady Ice a song here. This is a MP4, by the way. I dropped that in and automatically Studio One picks up the video, so I can play the video. Let me unmute the audio. Here's the audio. Now, let's say I wanted to import the audio here. I would just go right here. It says extract audio. I'm going to click that. Do you want to extract audio to a new track? And we'll go in yes. It's going to extract the audio there. And here we have the audio track for Lady Ice. And you can use this. This is the feature I used when I was scoring for that competition. And there it plays the video. You can resize it and whatnot. So we can either drag in the audio to Studio One, or we can go to File, and we can go to Open, and we can bring in either the video or or the audio track there. So that's how you do that. The space bar is play, and it's gonna, you can hit it again. It's gonna stop. Bars and beats here, you can set to, this is the time base, which I use. It's gonna snap to, as you see as I click here, it's snapping to the grid here. Here is the different time signature for the 1/8 quarter note when you're quantizing. The IQ here is for input quantize. So whenever I press and record a VST instrument, it's going to automatically quantize and correct the timing here. The snap feature, if I turn it off, you can see then I can go ahead and click in increments here. When I turn on the snap here, and it's the letter N, it's going to allow me to snap to the bar in beats. I hope I'm making sense to you guys here. Here is the quantize information here. If you want to manually quantize, let's say this was the MIDI track, I'll click on this, I'll click on quantize, and I would select the note. It can be from here. I can adjust the swing, and then I just hit apply. So that's a quantize there. I'm going to jump in this tools part section a little bit later on. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're just navigating around the screen here so we know what's up. Now, sometimes you might see something like this. So here is, we have the edit page here, which I rarely use. We have the mix page as well, and we have the browse page. So we want to pull up the browse page most of the time. So here is where here are some more options here. If I click here, left click, I can drag out, this little section here where I can, see my instruments and my VST plugins. So if I go and click on this house here, it says show instruments and effects. I can click on that and it's going to show that. Show effects, I click on that, it's going to take me to all my effects here. Like for example, I have the black hole from Eventide here. I can go ahead and drag that there, but we're going to get to that in another video. I'm just showing you how the layout of this thing is. I click back on home, I go on loops, it'll take me to whatever loops I have here, files. I can go on that, I can browse through my documents here, cloud, shop pool, and generally I keep it on instruments here. And down here you can see sort by, and we have vendor, folder, and flat. Flat kind of shows every single instrument you have here, and I would select vendor, which displays the company's name or the brand that made the VST instruments. For Air Music Technology, we have Expand 2 here. Akai Professional have the MPC. Ignite VST is the 808 Studio, and Korg, we have the Korg instrument, and it goes on and on. REFX represents the Nexus, so it helps me to navigate a little bit more faster when I want to make compositions and build rhythms off the fly. If we go on effects here, this is going to show all the effects, and it's sorted by the vendor. So Eventide represents all the stuff. Brainworks represent all the effects from Brainworks. Analog Obsession brings up all the VSTs as well, and loops, which I don't use. Files, I don't use that. So those are the main thing right there. And if we go around and go on the mix button here, and I believe the shortcut is F3. Yes, you might see this. You might see this first. And first, it might look a little bit complicated, but you can resize the mix window here. It's very simple and easy. Here is the track here that we have for Lady Ice. And what I normally do, I come down here to the lower bottom right, bottom left corner on detach. I'm going to click this. It's going to look like that. And then I'm going to click on this little square maximize button there. And there you have it. You have a better view of the mixer here. On Studio One, I'm going to drag this back. You can click the maximize one on reshape and resize as well. Let me click on the down arrow here and go up. And I have my mix window. I'm going to drag this up just a little bit here. So we have the mix window here, or you can resize it to how you want. It's up to you. Over the side here, we have a little bench that's going to show you keep effects channels to the right. This is how you can route, how you can set up your mixer here. But I'm going to leave this for another part of the video as well. We're going to touch on just the mixer on one separate video, because there's a lot of things I want to show you. But here's the main out here. Here's the insert effects. I can insert, and when I bring up the insert, here's the same thing, sort by. So I can go by vendor, or I can go by a folder. Normally I go by folder, so if I want delays, all the delays going to come up from Waves and the other third-party plugins and that stuff, even the Korg stuff. I can click on this little X right here and then close it. If I click on the mix button, the mixer stays that way. And this little button here is the auto scroll, so whenever you're playing across, the screen is going to follow. We're going to touch on the tools on the second video. So I wanted to show you guys the layout of Studio One. Here is the tempo. I can take this number up and down right from here, and it's going to change the tempo instantly for the session here. If I click on this little inspector button here, it's going to bring up the information. I can time stretch. Like if I go on time stretch here and I move the tempo around, it will also, when you start to bring in audio tracks like stems, you can time stretch them as well. For example, for Lady Ice, let's do a. I'm gonna mix down this audio file here. I'm gonna go to mix down selections. Don't be intimidated, guys. Like I said, Studio One is insanely easy. Here is the time stretch. Let me mess with the tempo. As you can see, the song, I can take it to 100, play it back. With another one. It's gonna play slow. I can go to 130. One dance all night. I can go to let's say 205. I'm gonna play that. So real time, it stretches the audio to your tempo. If I turn off that, it's gonna go back to the normal state of the audio file. Even if I adjust the tempo to like say 400. And the reason why I had to mix down this track here, because when I imported first, it wasn't stretching. For some reason, when you're gonna start to stretch audios, you have to bounce it down first in the session. I'm gonna get rid of that, and so that's what I wanted to show you guys. Up here are the tools icon here. You might be familiar to this one here. This one is the split tool, which you can split up the audio. This is the erase tool. This is the line tool here. similar to Pro Tools. Generally, you want to click on the little range tool here, which you can do a little bit everything. I'm going to touch on the tools and cutting in the next video, I promise. But I just want to show the layout here. So we have the time stretch. We can also transpose the audio file as well. So let's say, let me go ahead here. Let's see what's going on. Let's say I wanted to transpose this particular track here. I'm looking for my transpose button. There it is. It's at 0, so I can put in a number 1. And it takes it up. And you can enable or disable the effects as well as write in effects on the audio clip. So I'm going to stop there, guys. Just wanted to give you a little tour of the interface. And in the second part of the video, we're going to be talking about using the tools and how you edit in Studio One 4. So you don't want to miss it. This is the Studio One 4 Masterclass session, 1-day course, easy and fast. So subscribe, guys. I want to thank you for tuning in. And if there are any questions, let me know, and we can do that in future videos. So look out for part 2 and 3 coming up in Pristine Production YouTube.